over the last 4 weeks via YouVersion, which is how you can follow along with any sermon here at NorthRock, YouVersion Bible app. Or some people wrote their question on a little index card, those that would prefer to do that than to use technology. But we have some fabulous questions about family. All sorts of things to do with family, from parenting to marriage situations, and we're going to answer as many of those as we can get to today. And I have an esteemed panel on the stage here behind me, some very wise and amazing people. But before we dive off into that, I just want to say a couple of things here briefly. My wife mentioned Growth Track 201. We would love to get you connected at NorthRock. And for many of you, if you've not connected, if you've not joined a small group, you've not joined a serve team, you've not become a member at NorthRock, this is how you do it. And it's very easy and very simple. We give you food, we take care of your kids, and we keep you about 45 minutes to an hour, and you'll just enjoy it. It'll be a lot of fun. Discover 201, as she said, is a lot of fun today. So, and again, that's today at 12:30 after our second service. So, if you've been wanting to get connected at NorthRock, this is how you do it. So, we'd love to have you. Here's what we're doing this morning. I have a scripture for you from the book of Proverbs to kind of help you see what this is all about. It says in Proverbs 15:22, plans go wrong for lack of advice, but many advisors bring success. Plans go wrong for lack of advice, but many advisors bring success. And there's a lot of wise people around you, but our culture, especially with we men, we don't like to ask a lot of questions. We want everybody to think we've got it all figured out, but you don't. You don't. But here's something I heard someone say this week, that you can learn from just about anybody if you know the right questions to ask. And we all need mentors in our life, and we need multiple mentors in our life, because one mentor can only kind of teach you what they know. That's why we need multiple mentors in our life. And I have mentors who have taught me about having a passion for Jesus. I have mentors in my life who have helped me and are helping me learn how to lead on a larger scale. I have mentors in my life who are helping me know how to raise my family and treat my wife better and better and better. So we all need people in our lives that speak into our lives. And so today, that's what we're going to do. You've presented some questions, and I don't want to prolong this intro any longer because we have some great ones. And we're going to hear from some amazing people today about some questions that you, NorthRock people, you NorthRock members and attendees, and whether you're periphery or whatever it is you are, we're glad you're here. But you submitted over the last few weeks. So we'll dive off into this, and let me quickly introduce everybody over here all the way to my and your left. Right, this is left, this is left, this is right. I have to think about that sort of thing. All the way over here to our left is Miss Judy Wells, and we love Judy at NorthRock. She's a rock star here at NorthRock. She's been here for a long time. I mean, at NorthRock a long time. Yeah, we've only been here almost 6 years. But her and her husband, Dewey, are retired ministers themselves. Miss Judy is a counselor as well, and she's raised some children. Would you tell me your kids' names, how old your kids are?
Figuring out how old they are might be a problem. Right. I have 4 sons and a bunch of grandkids and wonderful daughter-in-laws. But I think my oldest son is about 53. And then the next one is probably 50, and the next one is 45-ish, maybe 7, and then the other one is about 44. So
yeah, all right.
They made it.
They grown.
They grown.
All right. Matt and Jennifer, you guys know Matt, our executive pastor, and his wife, Jennifer Martin, and they have 2 wonderful kids. Blake is 16, just turned 16, and just started driving, so they're in a unique phase in their life. It's been interesting. And Brady is how old? Brady is 8. So Blake is, 2 boys himself. Passel of boys up here. Y'all got the girls. All right. And Jillian. This is Jillian Davenport. And just recently Davenport. Artist, good to see you over there, boy. Shout out, man. Tell us how old Jacob is. Yeah, in the microphone. Jacob is 11.
Jacob is 11.
Fabulous. So she has 1 son, and he is 11. All right. And Jillian, I should have told you why everybody's on the stage. I mean, we got great wisdom up here, but Jillian raised Jacob alone for many, many years, and has just recently, earlier this year, I just don't know when the date was.
March 6th.
And March 6th, she married that wonderful guy over there on the first row, Mr. Artist. So, yeah, but she's up here kind of speaking from newly second marriage perspective, as well as raising a kid by herself for a long time. So, fabulous. And this is my wife, Alicia. We have 2 boys, Mason, who is 14, and Britton, who is 11. Yes, 14 and 11. They are freshmen. Well, Mason's a freshman in high school. Britton's in the 5th grade. All right. And on over is Amy and Bruce Randolph. Tell us about your children.
We have 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys. Lauren is 26, and Megan's 24. Chase is 21, and Parker is 19. And 2 wonderful grandbabies.
Fabulous. Fabulous. And that's her better half right there, Bruce. Her worst half, I guess I should say. That's my mistake. And then Mr. Phil Medina, who is multitasking on the stage today. That man is running the sound on the stage. He's not playing some video game there. He's actually running the sound.
He's playing Candy Crush right now.
Yeah, and Phil is, tell us about your children.
I've got 3 kids. I've got an 11-year-old son, Orion, will be upstairs later. A 10-year-old daughter, just turned 10, Maya, and awesome. A 7-year-old daughter, Audrey, who is upstairs right now.
Fabulous.
With my wife, taking care of your kids.
Jessica's not in here right now, but Phil is married to Jessica, and Jessica is our Little Rockers team leader. So
right, she's very busy with all your kids right
yeah,
now.
she helps take care of your kids every week. So great group of people up here, and we have some great questions. So I want to dive off into these questions. We'll start with the first one, and they're on the screen here behind me, and I think Jennifer and Matt and Bruce and Amy or somebody like that's going to talk about this one. But here's the question. It says, my husband is a Christian, but I've never heard him pray. How do I get him to pray with me and with the kids? Husband's a Christian, never heard him pray. How do I get him to pray with me and the kids? Miss Jennifer, you want to start? And go.
I had to start first last time.
An
Okay.
easy target.
Okay, so I would say praying out loud, it doesn't matter how long you've been a Christian, praying out loud can be intimidating. Certainly, as the head of your home, you don't want to look stupid in front of your wife and your children. So, you know, it's a conversation, first of all. Talk to your husband and say, hey, you know, would you mind praying with me and the kids? Start off with bedtime. That's the easiest thing to do. And possibly all take a turn, each, you know, praying out loud together. You take a turn, he takes a turn, the kids take a turn. You can also teach your kids how to pray out loud doing this. But this is not that big of a deal. As far as a lot of, you know, your husband, it doesn't mean he's not a Christian. And he may never be comfortable making these elaborate prayers over your family. And give him permission for that to be okay. You know, that's about all I've got on that, I think.
That's good. I think that's fabulous. I think that's fabulous. Bruce, Amy? Either or.
Well, I would probably be able to maybe encourage some men from an experience standpoint. Me and Amy had this conversation when my children were pretty young, and I was kind of busy doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing as a husband, and that was providing, and frankly was doing hard labor and was pretty tired. And so when it came to home group and stuff after church, I kind of let her take the lead and go, and sometimes takes the kids, and I did what I wanted to do. And one evening, I just remember specifically Amy kind of in tears just saying, I really need you to be the spiritual leader of our home. And it didn't hit me immediately, but it was something, I didn't feel qualified. And so I began to prepare myself by getting into the Bible and really feeling like I could have some confidence if I'm going to lead, then I need to know what I'm talking about. And so I would just encourage men that it would change your marriage and it would change your kids' lives forever. So.
Yeah. Amy, you have anything to add?
I would just say maybe do it in a loving, non-confrontational way.
Thank you, Alicia.
Communication's kind of key, I guess.
Yep. Very good. Matt, do you have anything to add to that?
I would say sometimes for men, it's harder to pray with your spouse than it is to pray with your children. So if you do have children, maybe let that be the lead-in to that. There's something about a dad and your child, you need to lead them, you want to lead them, so it's an easier on-ramp. But at the same time, if you don't have children and it's just you and your spouse, you have to start somewhere. And simple prayers, there are things that you can talk about together beforehand that you agree on, hey, we need to pray about. And you just pray together through those things. And don't feel like there has to be a time limit on it. I think that's the other thing. Sometimes like, well, how long do we pray? Till you're through talking to God. For some people, that's 30 seconds. For others, that's 30 minutes. But you have to start somewhere and just start in small steps, very small steps.
Very good. And so to answer the question to the lady, it sounds like communication and approaching them lovingly, kindly, something Bruce said earlier in the week when we were talking about it is if the lady, and kind of probably how Amy approached him, was it would mean so much to me, and don't ever approach from you never pray, I want you to start praying. That's not going to get anywhere. But approach him lovingly, compassionately, unconfrontationally. I'm not even sure that's a word, but if it's not, we just made it one. But approach, ask, communicate. Also, Alicia said yesterday, pray and ask God to help him. And we talked about that a few weeks ago. One of our sermons is pray. Go to God and say, God, would you put it on my husband's heart to begin to pray with us? All right. Next question. This is a good one. Number 2, and a lot of people have dealt with this question here. How do I forgive when I have been lied to and hurt by my spouse? How do I forgive when I've been lied to and hurt by my spouse? Why don't we start with Miss Judy, all the way on the end.
Well, forgiving them is the first step, and the way you do that is you choose to forgive them. It's not an option to go by your feelings. God says that we're to forgive like we have been forgiven. And so you just have to make up your mind. You're not going to be stubborn and prideful, that you're going to forgive them. I had a son that practiced lying all of his years up until he was in his mid-20s. And he was known in the family by his brothers as the liar. And that's a hard reputation. If you don't begin to change daddies, husbands, you might get that reputation in your own home. But Todd came to me sometime in his 20s. He was spent. He had dug himself a hole really bad with his lying. And so we did some prayer, ministry prayer. And at one time, he was really overcome with tears and everything. And basically, I said, you ready to stop? And he says, no, let's get on with it. And after we finished praying, Todd was set free from lying. And I looked at him as his mother, and I said, Todd, I no longer look at you as a liar. I see you as a changed man. And if you're going to see yourself as a liar, you're going to have to prove to me again that you're a liar. But now I see you as honest. And today he is a very honest, straightforward, upright, godly man. And I do have permission to tell this on him. So that lying had a good effect. The main thing that happens if you don't forgive is you may abscess inside, and nothing is worth that. So feeling will come, but just get on with it with a choice.
It's good. I love that. Jillian, how do I forgive when I have been lied to and hurt by my spouse?
Well, I think a lot like what Judy said, if you hold on to it, you abscess within your life. And for me, that's kind of exactly what happened. My life became sad. I became overwhelmed with just this, particular situation that happened, and the fact that I was angry and I had pain and I held on to it and I became consumed with it. I started causing more harm to myself, and finally came to the point where I realized I couldn't control the situation from what happened. It had already happened. I had to make a decision whether I was going to live this life where I had become this person that I couldn't identify with any longer. I was depressed and I was sad and I was in a dark place. And there came a point where I had to decide, do I continue to live that way, or do I need to make a change, and do I need to go back to this life of happiness that I had and this life full of joy? And I think once I realized by forgiving, I wasn't condoning what happened. I was freeing myself. Once you realize that, it's a journey to go on. It's not easy, and it's not something that you do overnight. You pray. And for me at that time in my life, praying was so new. I had no idea how to do it, but like Jennifer mentioned, you talk. You just talk and you hope somebody's listening.
He is.
And he is. He definitely is. You surround yourself with people who want to support you, and people who encourage you, and people who know that you can get through this. And then you talk aloud about it, and you talk to people. And you just start to free yourself of the guilt that you've built up for maybe allowing the situation to happen or for holding on to it for so long. You just free yourself, and you hand it over, and you let God manage it, and you stop trying to control it, and you forgive, and then you're freed.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
That's a great answer. Again, she said something that I just want to reiterate. Forgiveness, in most cases, it's not about the person you're forgiving. Forgiveness is for you, because if you hold on to bitterness or anger, then that cancer grows in you. You're not hurting the person who hurt you by not forgiving them. You're hurting yourself. And forgiveness does not condone the offense. It does not diminish the offense. Whatever happened, happened. And because you forgive, it doesn't mean that you're saying, okay, what you did was okay. No. Forgiveness is, again, between you and God. Between you and God. And He forgave us, the Scripture says, so that's why we forgive. That's why we forgive others. The Lord's Prayer. I mean, it's very, very direct principle. Great answers, guys. Great answers. I believe you're helping people. Number 3. This is a good one. We're going to allow some of the ladies to talk about this. We'll start with you, Alicia. But it says this: I have a hard time accepting my spouse should come first before my child. How is this possible or acceptable? How can I do this without feeling guilty as a mom? Alicia?
Okay, well, first of all, I want to clarify that if the house is on fire and I need to get everybody out of the house, I'm not going to go get Jonathan and then go get the kids. I mean, we are going to go get the kids. So it's not like that kind of putting first. So, like, it's a concept. It's a principle that you live by. Pastor Brent was here last week, and he talked about being one. And if you are one, then you are one. There's no third place. So it's like y'all and then the kids. And so I realize that when you have 3 children, 4 children, I only have 2, okay? So, but I have friends that have 5 children. I can't even imagine. I've got a friend right here. He's got lots of little kids. I mean, I can imagine how hard it is to, to fulfill all the needs of your husband plus your children, and it just can get wearisome. But I think it's really, really important that you put your husband first in your mind, so not like necessarily just the little mundane things of this life. So I think it's a concept that we live by, and I really, sometimes I feel like women use children as an excuse not to give time and affection to their husbands. I know they do. I'm a woman. I've been around other women. I know they do. So try not to do that. When your children are gone and they're out of the house, then it's just you and him again. And you want that relationship still to be there. I know probably some of y'all know people that right after the kids were out, boom, they split. And that's not what you want to happen. You want to have that lifelong partner.
Good. I love it. Jennifer, except for the part about the fire.
I agree with everything Alicia said. I had some of it. She took some of my answer, but that's okay. God designed it so it's God first, and then your spouse, and then your kids. And so He and I are one, and together we parent. And I love what she said about using your kids as an excuse. Moms are really, really good at this. We are busy at bedtime, and we're so busy that we make bedtime last a long time. And some I've known people who possibly made bedtime last so long that their husband was asleep when they got in the bedroom. So make sure that you are taking care of your husband. And husbands, don't stay at work so long so that your wife has done all of the meal and bedtime and all of that. You parent together. And so what is the question? How can I do this without feeling guilty as a mom? Pastor Jonathan says the best thing we can do for our kids is to love our spouse. Mm-hmm. And you are training your children now the kind of spouse that they will be and how they will treat their spouse. So if you are putting your kids first, they will put their kids first before their spouse. And that's not God's ideal, and that's not a healthy relationship. So
That's right. That's right. I think we can never, ever underestimate the power of a healthy marriage in a home and what type of security and stability that it gives to our children. And trust me, your kids are not sitting there thinking, I'm in last place. She likes daddy more than me. They don't even think that way. They're not thinking that way. They want you to like daddy. And daddy, they want you to like mom. And I'll just interject this here, and I'll speak to men. They spoke to ladies. Ladies, that you can use your kids as an excuse to not fulfill your duties as a wife. Men do the same thing with their careers and some with their kids. But men, a lot of times we use our careers as an excuse to be away from the house all the time. And remember, always, yes, the career is important. Obviously, yes, our kids they're our life, they're our responsibility. But the greatest thing that we can give our children is a happy, healthy marriage. Happy, healthy marriage. Amy, you got something to add on this? No?
Just from where I'm at in my life, I mean, we're at the tail end of raising children, so we only have one at home. So I can remember having, one baby in my arm, one hanging on my leg, two running around, and you're consumed with that. But just through my experience, it's so important to invest your time and nurture that relationship with your spouse and have fun, because it is fun once they leave the house.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So keep dating. That's the thing, man. Keep dating all the way through your marriage, even whenever you got little ones around. All right, that was great answers. And this is a great question here. I like this one. With a seriously dysfunctional family, I thought that was funny. Basically every sitcom on TV. With a seriously dysfunctional family, with a broken family, how do you continue with most points? Let me read it because I reworded it up there. How do you apply most of the points the pastors have made that seem to not be able to apply? Because my family is so dysfunctional, I don't even feel like I can apply the principles that we've been talking about in the series. Phil, you hadn't had a chance to talk. I'm going to start with you on this one.
Okay, so first off, my wife's going to watch this, and we are not dysfunctional. Extremely dysfunctional, but
they're very functional.
We do have a unique situation. I am on my second marriage, and I do have two older children that were from my previous marriage. Now my wife now, and I have raised them together most of their lives. But I really don't think that it is possible for principles not to apply in the family situation that we have and that other people have as well. I mean, these are principles of God that should apply, whether it's an individual, a family, or however your family is divided. The goal for us as parents is to be very intentional about what we do and how we raise our children, and to create a good, stable environment for them. So I know sometimes it's like, well, that sounds great idea, Jonathan, but probably not going to happen in my house. And I don't believe that. I mean, there was a time and place where I definitely would have believed that, and I would have said, that's my reality. But it's once you move past that perception, then you can alter the reality that you live in on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes it's, there's more variables involved. We do a lot of parenting on our own since the children live with us, but occasionally we have to have a big, A plus B plus C conversation about this or about that. And like I said, us being very intentional about that has really created a better environment to where we're all on the same page. There's not friction. There's not constant friction back and forth with a certain element. And I really have to credit my wife for that, because she has really bridged the gap and put me in a situation where I had to completely acknowledge that I have to accept all portions of the situation and take the principles that we talk about on a daily basis, weekly basis, and really put effort into applying them. Not just listen to them, write them down, and say, "Well, that was a good sermon. What's for lunch?" But we consciously talk about this stuff and that communication that we have together, and we extend to, A plus B plus C, really strengthens overall the environment that we raise the children in on a day-to-day basis. So,
Good. Very good. Very good. Love it. Jillian?
Yes.
Yes.
When I read this question, honestly, my first initial reaction to this was, well, whoever put this question in, then they're kind of in a state of denial. And the reason that I say that is, like Phil mentioned, there's always a message in everything that we are taught and everything that we come here for. Is your dysfunctional situation going to be solved in a 1-hour sermon? Of course not. But you have to take the message as a stepping stone. You have to get out of your own way. It's almost like you're enabling yourself. You've convinced yourself that your situation is so unique and it's so different than any situation that anybody has ever been in, that you've convinced yourself you're unfixable, and you're enabling yourself. You're in your way. You got to sometimes get out of your own way. And you got to take a message, and you got to take that one stepping stone, and you got to listen to it. And then you slowly apply it. And then you take the next one. And it takes time, but you have to want it for yourself. And you have to know that there isn't a situation that's too big for God. Don't diminish him, and don't make him only be able to handle easy things or simple things. There's dysfunction all over the place. Mm-hmm. And so, I really kind of just keep going back to this, like, you have to get out of your own way. So.
That's very good. That's very good. Miss Judy, you got a quick thought on that one?
Yes, thank you. I think that it may be denial, yes, but the bottom line is that the pastor says we all have issues. Almost every Sunday he says that, and that's true. That's true. And so when I look at dysfunction, I have to look at me, because I'm the only one that I can change. Mm-hmm. I have to start right here. And Dewey preached a long time ago, and he told about a rock tumbler. Our lives are like the rocks that are in a rock tumbler. And our families, our churches, everywhere we walk is that way. And as we're tumbled with the grit, the jeweler's rouge, and the water and the detergent that turns it over and over and over and over, that's like us being tumbled in life. But the process is to create a gem, and that's what you get through the hard knocks and the bumping together. So you have to look and see, what are you trying to teach me, Lord, in our dysfunction? And then if you're the one that realized from the family that you had dysfunction, responsibility lies with you to start the very first step to do it. And I see our families as like a merry-go-round, and it's going faster and faster and faster. And if somebody doesn't do something, everybody's going to be slung off the merry-go-round. So you're the one with the question. You're the one that recognizes the dysfunctions. So you're the one that sticks your leg out and takes the risk to stop the merry-go-round, so everybody can slow down and you can work on your problem. So it's an individual thing, even though it's a family function.
It's very good. Very good. Love it. All right, I'm going to have to skip around here because we are quickly running out of time. Let's try to answer a couple more as quickly as possible. I'm going to skip the next one for those running the Pro Presenter and go to number 6, which is this. when two people get married and it's their second marriage, when it's two people get married and it's their second marriage for both, do the same ideals apply as if it was their first marriage? Do they become one and place no others before their spouse still, like kids from a previous marriage, etc.? And I know we feel like you've been talking a lot, but you've got some really good answers. Jillian, this is a good one for you.
So I guess in my situation, I'm on my second marriage. My husband is not. And as Jonathan introduced me before, I do have a child from prior to this marriage. And I think for me, why this is so important, why you should always place your spouse, as your equal, as your priority after God. For me, it's sending a very clear message to my son that I'm 100% confident in my decision and in my union with Artis, that he's absolutely meant to be in the co-parenting position with me. So I'm sending a very clear message to him that he is my partner, he is my equal. The confidence that I portray in that union that I have with him is going to allow Jacob to create a bond and a trust and a love with Artis that he has similar to me. It's going to place him in a position where he knows he can always go to Artis if he needs anything, that he's supported and that he's comfortable. And then on the flip side of that, this allows us to honor Artis for stepping into this role, for being a parent, for being a father to my son. We're honoring him and we're supporting him and we're trusting him. This helps build that trust for Jacob to see him as an equal parent, equal to me and not as, somebody who cannot make the decisions or that he cannot go to because he's not a biological parent. So for me, I feel like it just really sends a very clear message to my son, that we're a family and that we are a partnership and that we are that one, like Alicia talked about, and that, I trust what he has to say and what he has to do completely.
It's very good. Very good. Phil? You speak to
Sorry, I
this
had
one?
to turn my microphone on.
Because you can.
Yes. I'm gonna agree on a lot of those parts, and it's a little bit different. Jess and I got married and have been raising the kids since they were very little. They were 2 and 3, so she's essentially been raising them as mommy number one since they were very little. But I definitely did put out the I'm not getting married again vibe when that first went down, and it took a long time, probably longer than a lot of other people would be for us to get married and for me to make the commitment. But I wanted to be 100,000,000% sure that this is the right situation and we are all in together on this, because that's a lot of baggage for her to take on, and it's just a complicated situation, and we've been very blessed to be able to be where we're at from where we came from in that situation. But it's very much about us together, and I think that the more you focus on that, the more stability you have for your children. So regardless of how your level of dysfunction or variables in the house would be, if you will, the stronger our relationship is, the stronger it's going to be for the children in that environment, and has been up until now, and will continue, just clarification. But you absolutely have to be all in with your spouse in order to have a healthy relationship for your children.
Love it.
Absolutely.
All in. Great. All right, I'm going to hit one more here at least. We'll see how quickly we can answer it. It's not the next question, but it's actually question number 8 on my list. And my husband is not a follower of Christ, although he does believe in God. Skip one question, jump to the next one. Found it? Yes, that's probably it. My children were raised in the church and gave their lives to Christ at a young age. One follows Christ, the other has struggled with addiction, incarceration, etc., and has such a difficult time believing and having faith now. Continuing on. My husband often feels like, no, that's not the right. Let me finish the question. The question goes, I have been a bailer and a saver for my children more than I should. My child is now in his 30s, and I just don't know what to do anymore. I have bailed him out over and over. He cries out to me all the time because we've always been so close. Can you help? Basically, she's wrestling with bailing her child out again and again, and now he's in his 30s. Miss Judy, you speak to this?
Well, I had one of those kids. And the same one I talked about earlier. Little Todd gets in trouble all the time, but he turned out good, so it's great. But Todd was a prodigal, and I think this parent is looking at all that has gone on in their lives, and they're wondering if they're probably part of the problem by being there always to bail them out. I think as Christians, sometimes we're too soft, and our kids have to take responsibility for what they're doing. So I would like to say maybe this mother needs permission to allow the child to grow up and take some of the hard knocks of his life, because I found you learn a whole lot more sometimes when you fail, and it's like you don't want to do that again. I remember, though, with Todd in particular, one night he wasn't able to get in the house. He was so drunk in his car. And Dewey went out to get him and brought him in. It's heartbreaking for you to have to continue to help these kids. You think, why don't they just get over it and grow up? Well, I talked to him the next morning. We were cooking breakfast, and I said, Todd, are you sure that you belong to the Lord? And he says, yes, ma'am, I do. I am sure. And I said, okay, Mama has picked you up and carried you back and taken you as my responsibility and away from God a lot of times because we think we can do a better job than God's doing. And so I said, right now, today, this morning in the kitchen, I'm giving you back to God. He loves you more than I do. And when life gets to going tough, God is going to release literally the hounds of heaven after you because you've named his name. And there will come a day when you wish it was only your mother after you.
I like that.
So sometimes we have to let them fail so God can get at them.
That's good. Alicia, quickly.
Well, I don't have a child in that position, but I have had a brother that for 15 years was an alcohol and drug abuser and did all sorts of awful things, and my parents were definitely bailers. And so I asked my mom about this one, and the number one thing she said is, don't get help for them, get help for you. You as a parent need a drug and alcohol abuse Christian drug and alcohol abuse counselor to help you make these decisions and to quit being an enabler for your child. And when they did that, that's when things started changing for them. And thank God. Thank God. There is never no hope. There's always hope. So if you're out here today, I want to tell you that there is hope. There's countless stories of people who have been bound in drug and alcohol addiction in awful situations that are living a clean life now and living for Jesus like my brother is in Austin, Texas. My brother, after he was delivered, he came to Austin, actually. That's where we were living at the time. He moved away from his city, which is what they advised. And he joined the choir. He eventually worked with youth. He's on the church board. He's got a beautiful wife and a baby on the way. And if you asked him today, he would say, I thought there was no hope. I was in a hole so far down I could not get out of. But let me tell you something. There was a mom and dad that kept praying for that child, and they didn't stop. They quit enabling him. They quit giving him money, giving him keys to their house. They changed the locks of their keys. I mean, it was drastic. But God, there is always God factor. Mm-hmm. And if you will trust in him, and he will bring them back. And my brother is a living testimony today, and Judy has a great testimony too. So
that's right.
Be encouraged.
Be encouraged. Be encouraged. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for the fact that you love us the way that you love us. We love hearing stories like this because even if our situations are not exactly like some of the stories we've heard, we still can see ourselves one way or another in each and every testimony that was given today, word of wisdom that was given today. And we're grateful that you love us the way you love us. We're grateful that you didn't give up on us. We're grateful that you didn't give up on me as a teenager making mistakes, as a young married man making mistakes, as a parent who makes mistakes. And I'm grateful that your word says, Lord, that even while I was still a sinner, you died for me. That you came and gave your life because I make mistakes and I get myself in situations that I can't get out of myself. But you gave your life so that I could have freedom from myself, freedom from my sin. I'm grateful for that this morning, Lord Jesus.